it's not just a career you decide to do in college. You know, I mean, I'm going to major in da da da. This is something that we started way young, and it's like all you knew. For me, it was all I knew for so long. It
was all I knew. Yep.
And I think also as a dancer, you are trained to, and this is part of the problem, you are trained that artistic director and that ballet master, what they think determines your life. Like what they say goes, you dance what they tell you, with whom they tell you, when they tell you, and you literally, at least from my perspective, you live and die by pleasing them, because you know that they hold your career in their hands. And I think that's the other difference for me, is now I've realized I'm doing this for me. Like everything moving forward in ballet is not to try and please a director or please anybody else. I just want to share. I just want to help. And I want to bring the joy back into it for me. Because I feel like, especially with a lot of professionals, the joy is taken out of ballet.
Yeah,
because 100% you're just trying to please. Yeah.
100% agree. I think also, thank goodness for things like, I mean, social media definitely has a lot of negatives. And I definitely encourage all especially my younger students, like my youngest teen sort of age group, I do try and set a very good example for them on social media, whether it's what I'm posting, whether it's what I'm sharing. The people that I follow, you know, I encourage them to follow, you know, really awesome people, not people that are going to make them feel bad about themselves. But thank God for things like YouTube and Instagram and Facebook, because they've also allowed people like you and I to forge and be the architect of our own career path in a world that is typically quite stuffy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was saying this to somebody just the other day. I remember during my ballet school years, yes, while Instagram can be detrimental to all these kids because it's like a constant everyday comparing yourself. Yeah. I remember the only ballet news we got was the Point Dance and Dance Spirit magazines. And like once the magazine came out, you knew what was happening and you didn't know it. Like I remember cutting out pictures of Jennifer Ringer and Wendy Whalen and posting them on my wall. Like I couldn't, you know, that was the only photos.
Did you cut out the pictures? Oh my gosh, my magazines, I wouldn't even dare to cut out.
Well, there was a Point magazine that came in the magazine with a fold out page of Jennifer Ringer. I remember that. I remember having her on my wall, and one of Wendy too. And those are the ones I cut out. But
because I used to go to the newsagents every morning, morning of the month that Dance Australia would come out, and my dad actually made sure that, because my newsagents didn't stock it, so they had a special order for me. So I loved it because my magazine came with my name on it, like a little sticker at the top said Georgia, and I used to pick it up, and I would be really upset if like a little corner was torn or like it was a bit screwed up from the mail. And then Dad and I would sit and he'd have his paper and I'd pour through it. But you're right, that's all we had.
That's all we had.
That's it. Mm-hmm. That's it. Yeah.
Because
even to devour the pages.
Live streaming on the internet wasn't a thing. No, and it was never on television unless it was like PBS with Brezhnikov. I mean, it was like that was it.
Oh, so yeah, it was like old school.
Yeah. So all these kids, while it can be, they compare themselves constantly, which is a problem, and they're bombarded by it daily, which is a problem. At the same time, they get to keep up with everybody on a daily basis, and what Bella Boylston's doing, what Tyler Peck's doing, what, you know, some of the, you know, different international countries. It's like they get to be more immersed than we did.
Yeah. I think, and I've said this a few times now, I wonder what it would have been like as a younger dancer if I had have been able to follow on Instagram, you know, Misty or Sarah Mearns or people like yourself, or, you know, people that had my body type. I wonder whether that would have made a huge difference, or maybe, you know, maybe it didn't, maybe it wouldn't have, I don't know, but I do wonder about that sometimes. And I do think that can be a really positive thing about, you know, social media.
And that's why I've always tried to be as honest as possible through YouTube, through Instagram, and just sort of not sugarcoat and not hide anything and say, yeah, it's hard. This is hard. This is what it's like. This is what was said to me. You know, I really didn't want to be like under the radar. I thought about it, but I thought, who am I benefiting if I leave Miami City Ballet under the radar? and don't tell these kids what I went through, and don't show them that this is what happens. This is how they can get through their own struggles too, because a lot of them are struggling in silence. And so that's why I try and be as honest as possible on Instagram.